Okay, so I decided that it would probably be best for you guys to have this JavaScript code um, to kind of facilitate things so that people don't have to learn another language on top of learning PHP. Um, so, what this effectively does is it's setting a listener, it's waiting for an event to happen, in this case, a click event, on the profile image, which we will specify in just a minute. The pound sign in front of prof dash image is indicating that this is using an ID. So what this JavaScript is doing is it's taking a look through our PHP or through our HTML information, and it's going through and it's searching for the item in the document with this ID. What's going to happen is um, when this is clicked, this is kind of like the action button, more or less. This is the action that's going to happen. We're going to open up a file explorer. We're going to um, we're going to put in the picture's display image, basically. Like we're going to allow the user to preview what that image is going to look like, and then we're going to have some formatting done in our CSS page as well. So in addition to this includes guy right here, we're going to require our database handler, which is going to be in our includes / db handler dot php. Okay, so this script is kind of going to be its own like little standalone thing. We're going to put it within a main tag right here. So hit main. Okay. No code completion. Are you sure? There we go. All right. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to relocate our script. We're also going to link. I'm going to create a link to our style sheet. This is the relationship. It's a style. This link is a style sheet, and the href, which is the same as saying the path, is going to be css dot profile dot css. Okay, cool. So beneath the script, I am actually going to open up another PHP tag within here. So this is the funny thing about PHP and HTML, and this is why it's really, really useful, is I can just keep nesting stuff inside of here. It looks awful. This could be refactored, but this is going to get us from point A to point B, and we can work on making it look good at a later point. I can keep putting PHP tags inside of HTML tags inside of PHP tags. It's pretty great. So I have to open and close this out. What's going to happen is I'm going to have an if statement, but I'm not going to finish the if. What's going to happen is I'm going to have different kind of behavior based on whether someone is like logged in or not. If they're not, we want to kick them out to the login because they're trying to access our web page in a way that they shouldn't, which is doing things like just entering in the URL to a page, which can happen and has happened to websites in the past. And someone can just see something even though they're not logged in just because they literally just put it in the browser. So anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to start off by going if we're going to have an is set, with only two S's. And it's going to be our $_session, and that's going to be our UID. Now, if you didn't use UID as the key when you have your login in your login helper right here, it needs to be exactly like it is here. We're going to use the user's ID. It's going to be a very easy way to look them up. Okay. So if there is no UID, that means that the person is not logged in. So what we're going to do is we're going to have our else further down the line, but we're going to say, assuming that they are logged in, we're going to create this prof_user, and that is the username. Oops. 1s in session like that. And in here, in my case, it's uname, which again, you can check by going back to the login helper right here. This is going to be at the very bottom. So whatever you stored in that session variable upon a successful login. So in my case, it's uname, and that'll get the uname. Oops. All right. Cool. So this is going to be their username, which I'm going to put in a comment right here. Which is done by just making 2 forward slashes. Okay. Cool. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a SQL statement, and I'm going to get stuff like I'm going to get the path to the photo. I'm going to get the rest of the information in the profiles database table. So that's going to be stuff like the first name. Really, the only things that we care about here are the username and the profile pic. So we're just going to store the profile pic, actually. That's prof pic in there. So what we're going to do is we're going to make our SQL statement here. And it's going to be called SQL Pro. And that's going to be the profile picture. So we're going to select all. From doesn't need to be capitalized, but it helps me when I'm going through this to see that it's SQL and it's meant to, it's spelled correctly and everything. From profiles, where, another keyword, where uname is equal to, in single quotes, inside the single quotes, $, prof_user. That should do the autocomplete for you. And then I'm just going to close out with a semicolon. It may run, it may not, if you have the semicolon or if you don't. Semicolons are used to close out things in SQL as well as PHP and most other programming languages that are not Java, or that are not Python. All right, cool. The next thing is going to be the results of running our query. So we're going to do MySQLi _query parentheses, and this is going to be our con variable, our connection variable, and our SQL statement that we just made, which is SQL Pro. Now you might be saying, well, why aren't you, ooh, that's a misspelling right there. Oh, res equals that. Okay, great. All right, now you might be saying, well, Mike, why aren't you doing a prepared statement? Because we're not taking in input from the user. There should be things that I'm doing to secure this as well. I should have a .htaccess file that prevents me from going into the includes folder and making modifications to that. We'll talk about that at a later date. But yeah, I'm not taking in input data from the user, so there's less chance of them modifying it, It's still possible, but there's less chance of that happening if I'm just doing a statement like this. Still, you shouldn't have this kind of information displayed because people can tell exactly what your table name is, stuff like that. So that's generally not good. Anyway, the row that we're going to return is going to be my SQLi underscore fetch underscore array. And we're going to put in the result right there. And this is going to get all of the data in that profile, that profiles table row. And the photo, if I can spell it, is going to be our row, and it's going to be our, what is it, ProPic, something like that. Let me just check in here, ProfPic. ProfPic from me. Again, check that by going to your profiles table. All right, so this is the path right here, which I'm just going to put a comment here. All right, great. This is where we're going to actually put in a closing piece right there. And then I'm going to actually have our profile page going on in here. So all of this is still going to be within our if statement. So here, so all of this stuff right here before this closing bracket, this closing curly brace is going to be within our if statement, even though it doesn't look like, even though I'm separating using PHP tags right here, because I'm mixing PHP and HTML together. So this is where we're going to have a similar kind of form to our login, but I'm not going to do a ton of copying and pasting with this one. Our class for this div is going to be height of 50%. It's going to be this center me and text center, which is a Bootstrap class that will apply the text center attribute, CSS attribute. All right. I should have totally done just typing in div so I could get that autocomplete, but that's okay. Make sure that you close out your divs every time you open them. That'll just help you keep everything straight. The next div class we're going to have is going to be margin along the y-axis is going to be auto. Oops, this time I'm going to actually do div. There we go. And I will format that in just a second. And the class for this one is going to be my-auto. Great. Okay, this is where our form is going to start, because we're going to just have the section where we change the profile picture. We allow for photo uploads for this lab. We can make modifications in subsequent labs if we so choose. So the action is going to be our includes upload dash helper.php. Oops. The method is going to be equal to post. And the encoding type is actually going to matter on this one. This is going to be multiple types of form data, where before it was always text data. It was always just like a generic like text kind of input field. This time we're actually going to have pictures. So we have this encoding type, and that's going to be multi-part / form dash data. Great. All right. The next section that we're going to have is we're going to actually build a form group. And what we're going to have here is, this is actually going to be a div for the form group. So I'm going to exercise a little bit of laziness and get that autocomplete going on. Class is spelled with 2 S's. And this is going to be form dash group. And I'm going to copy this. We're going to have a bio section, but we aren't really doing anything with it in this class. We can address that at a later time. So for this first form group, this is where we're going to have our the picture that people are going to be able to click on, and we're going to have a label, which is going to have the profile user's name, and we're going to have an actual file on here that's going to be hidden, and this is where you see some neat little tricks going on with HTML and PHP. And this is also what happens whenever you get a phishing email. It will look like something from Chase or Netflix or whatever, or Facebook, and there's all these hidden HTML elements on there. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to have an image. There we go. Autocomplete. It's amazing. All right, the source, I'm going to put another PHP tag in here, and I'm going to have an echo statement. And what this echo statement does is it's going to take what I give it. It's basically like outputting something to the terminal, but what we're going to do is instead of outputting something to the terminal, we're going to be getting the photo going on in here. So I'm nesting PHP inside of this HTML, and what's happening is I'm taking the location of our photo, which was stored right here. This is the location of their profile picture, which could just be the default, and I'm going to plug that in there. The alt is profile pic. All right, cool. Now, outside of this alt right here, which is unnecessary, alt is just alternative text. In the event that you can't display the photo, you can still see kind of like what's supposed to be there. It's like a shadow, basically, just a little description. We're going to add one of these on-click listeners. And what we're going to do is we're going to go triggered. This is where we're calling our JavaScript, or our script section, right up top here. And our ID is going to be prof-display. So please use the same ID as I did to simplify things. What's happening here is this is not, although we will be clicking on this image, what we're actually doing is we're triggering a series of events that are going to open up this file that we're going to have down below. We're going to have a label, which I will also use autocomplete for. And this is going to be for prof-image. The ID for this one is going to be uname-style, which we will define in our CSS. And what's going to go between these two kind of like opposing carrots going on right here is we're going to have another embedded PHP tag right here. And what's going to go in there is our echo prof underscore user. And this is going to be the username, which again is right there. It's going to be the username, which is stored in the session variable. Now you could have just done session right there, but we also used it in our SQL statement. So we got a little bit of mileage out of that. All right, so that is our label. I'm going to format this HTML so it's a little bit easier for you guys to see. I realize that we've been going for a little bit now. And the next thing that we're going to do is we are going to have our input, but this one is going to be hidden. And I'm just being lazy here and making it give me the stuff that I want. So the type is going to be file. Our name for this, for when we do our upload helper, is going to be prof-image. And the ID is going to be prof-image. Which is what's happening here. This is getting clicked, basically. This input field right here is actually getting clicked when we do this. So what's happening is we're clicking on the display, like what we're seeing, what the user is going to be able to see is they're clicking on a photo. But what's happening is we're using JavaScript to click on this input field right here. And that is where it's actually going to pull up a file explorer. So what's going to happen is we're going to have another listener looking to see if anything has changed, called onChange. And we're going to go preview this. Okay. So what this is going to do is it's basically going to take the file that we're putting in there. It's going to set the attribute of the display, which is this picture right here, to be the result of what we have selected, which is a picture. And the class, oops, outside of the preview. Sorry. And the class for this is going to be form-control. And our style is going to be display : none. All right, and this is what's going to hide it from view, because otherwise you would see this input button, basically. Okay. So I'm going to copy and paste this one more time. So I told you that we would have a bio section in here, and we will. That's going to be in what's called the text area, which I'm going to use autocomplete for. All right, text area. If you just start typing text area without the opening, the less than sign, what we're going to do is we're going to give this one the name of bio. The ID for this one is going to also be bio. And then the number of columns and rows is 30 and 10, which is fine. And then we're going to also have some placeholder text. This is going to be a nice big rectangular block. So 30 is the width, and 10 is the height. I don't remember exactly what the measurement is for this. It's not in pixels, but anyway, placeholder is going to be bio with only 3 dots. And our style is going to be text align colon center. All right, cool. Let's just display this right now. See what's going on. Oh, I need to log in. Ha, got it. Great, that part is working. All right, neat. So my user already has this. Your default picture will be slightly different, but this is good news because one, the text is centered in here. This is a nice big little block. We've got the username displaying. I already have my login CSS displayed, so your image is probably going to be full screen and or really big, or however large the regular image is. So you'll need to format that. And then this may not be formatted as bold for you, but anyway, as long as you can see stuff in there, you can see the image, you can see this bio section right here, this text area, and you can see the username, then you're in good shape. And as you can see, the header is working just fine. Okay. So the last thing that we're going to do is I copied and pasted this form group actually a couple of times. So again, if you don't have it, it's just div, and the class is going to be form group, and you're just going to close out that div. And what's going to go in here is going to be our button. Actually, upload. Upload is going to be what is going to go in between the 2 button tags for me. This is what text is going to be displayed inside of there. And the type is going to be submit. Oops. The name of this button is going to be prof-submit, keeping in the same form as our other buttons. And our class, oops, yeah, is going to be btn, which is a bootstrap class, btn-outline for me, because I like the outline shape a little bit more. I like the way it looks. And it's going to be success, which is going to be by default green. If you are confused about which ones to use, you can go in here and it'll give you several options to choose from. These are the default ones. You can also specify your own colors in the CSS page. So I'm going to be using this success one right here. When you hover over it, it fills in green, which is just a neat little effect that I got for free, which is pretty neat. Right there, BTN, it's going to be a large button, and it's going to be a BTN block. All right, cool. Now I'm going to go to reload this, and that looks pretty good. That's a good start for this lab. Okay. Assuming that your stuff is working, I'll be moving on to the upload helper and the CSS.